All right, everybody. We are waiting on Burton. He jumped out of the seat. There he is.
Hey, what's going on? Sorry, just my alarm was
right.
going off. I had to turn that off.
Hey, we'll give you another quick intro. All right, everybody. Today we've got an amazing 20-minute pop-up. I've got a really great episode lined up today. So you guys know we don't just bring anybody on here. We only want to bring the actual people in the industry that move the needle. And today's guest is my very good friend, Mr. Burton from PropStream. So happy to have you here. Guys, if you've been in real estate for even 5 minutes, you understand that PropStream is absolutely the secret weapon behind so many investors. It was in our business, Nationwide Property Liquidators. It was literally the backbone of every single thing that we've done, from analyzing deals to pulling leads, staying ahead of the market. And there is nobody in the industry that knows it better than Burton. So we're super excited to have you here for a 20-minute pop-up.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here, David.
Man. Cool. All right. So today, let's get right to it. For anybody who's not using PropStream, just give us a little kind of rundown of what it is. And then if you're able to, can we just get like a little kind of run through of the platform, of the software? And then we're going to do a few more of these for everybody who's watching that will start to get more and more detailed into some of the different functionalities.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like the elevator pitch, PropStream is a nationwide data platform. You can use us to search any market in the US. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to be the middleman. In the past, you would go gather your records physically, either at the county's office or the county clerk's office. Access to the MLS back then. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. We go get all that data, put it in our server, and then let you either search a property or bend the data and build your own list.
Thank you. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You know, when I was first starting this a million years ago, if you wanted foreclosure data, you had to go to the county and pull the daily foreclosure records or whatever it was. And you just don't have to do any of that anymore. There is no way. I just want to be super clear with it. There is no way that you can run a real estate business beyond being a casual hobbyist and not have a platform like PropStream that you can just pull all of the data from. It's so important that if you want to make an offer on a property, one, you have to know what the after repair value of that property is, like what other properties that are in great condition, like your property sold for, but also what the as is cash value is today. And we do all of that with PropStream. We pull our data, we send direct mail, we do all of things. And I don't want to step on your presentation, but let's kind of jump into it.
Absolutely. So cool. What can I do for you? I'm just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to PropStream. So
do you want to show us some stuff? You just want to let's start at the beginning. Like the average investor, and I know you deal with the biggest and smallest investors all across the country. What are some of the ways that they're really using PropStream today in their business to really get ahead?
Well, I think the two core functions of PropStream is exactly what any real estate business is going to consist of, and that's either they need to generate leads to get the phone to ring. Once that phone rings, it's a potential buyer or seller. Usually they're interested in a property or interested in selling a property. And so that's what we also do. We give you the ability to research individual properties. So again, you mentioned it, you don't necessarily need to have a platform like PropStream. If you want to go do this physically, you can go get your records physically in terms of, property information. You could ask the owner a lot of questions.
Sure.
That's our goal, is to prevent that excess waste of time. You can use our data set to build your own lists, market to that list, right? Essentially, this is called outbound marketing. For those that aren't familiar with that term, there are two types of way you can market. One is called inbound. That's word of mouth. That's paying for a billboard and hoping cars drive by and call you because of that. Outbound marketing is kind of the opposite, where you're deliberately reaching out to targeted leads. And that's what we provide you with. So through our filtering system, You can generate an off-market list that you can go target, market,
Yeah.
cold call, whatever. When they call back, you also can utilize the second part of our platform, which is research property, and we give you property info. You can comp it, like you mentioned, mortgage info, and so forth and so forth. So the two main things in PropStream are what I believe are the two things that you're already doing in your business.
Yeah. What I love about, again, I'm the biggest fan of PropStream. You know that we used it so much. We still use it to this day, even in our transactions business, weirdly enough. But what I like about pulling a list is sometimes people are on a budget. Not everybody wants to spend $20,000 or $30,000 a month on PPC. When I was starting, I had to be very budget conscious, right? How much do I have for marketing? How many mailers can I send out? And the thing with being able to pull a list is we can start to add those filters, and we can take a big list of 30,000 and start to shrink it down. And maybe I've only got enough money to send 1,500 mailers or do 1,500 texts or whatever it is. I can literally just whittle it down to the very best of, that list, the people that, are the exact avatar of who I'm looking to get a hold of.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, all real estate businesses come in all different shapes and sizes, and that also includes the marketing budget that they have.
Sure.
And to your point, there's many ways to approach this. You can blanket market a whole city block and knock on every single door until someone answers that's ready to sell. Yeah. Or to your point, you can utilize data and filtering systems to really target that homeowner that probably needs to sell, right? So again, you can knock on 10 doors or just find the door out of the 10 that really needs to sell and kind of go from there. And that's essentially our approach is for the last nearly 2 decades where we've just been collecting data, but really giving that power to the user, the property info, and not just that, but the ability to manipulate the data we've collected for nearly 2 decades to really find those motivated sellers out there that some may not even have are going to see by just grabbing a list. It leads to another philosophy I have where a lead is not always going to be on the list you find at the county clerk's office. And that's where products like PropStream come into play, where you can do a little bit extra than what you can get at the county's office.
Yeah, and one thing we talk about, or I've talked about a lot, is our job as investors is to help people. So we're looking for people who are losing sleep tonight over a particular property, and this is where your filters come in. What are some of the biggest filters? Maybe the top 3 or 4, maybe 5 that you like, or you've seen investors using that for the best results?
When it comes to finding sellers, because again, you can use our platform to either find buyers if you're looking to offload a contract or raise private money or looking for hedge funds. There's many different ways you can bend the data. But when it comes to investors who are looking for motivated sellers in PropStream, some of the top leads or lists that I'm seeing are your typical ones, like your out-of-state, vacant, non-owner occupied properties. That seems to be like one of the best options out there. Again, that's absentee owned properties owned by individuals.
So let's talk about, let me jump in 1 second, just because not everybody listening may understand, but absentee owner is just the tax bill goes to a different address than the physical house that we're looking at.
That's correct. Yeah, an owner can only live in one property, and so the property that they primarily reside in is their homestead. Any other property after that would be considered non-owner occupied, and that's essentially one of the filters that you can use in PropStream. You can identify properties that are non-owner occupied and add a little bit more on that. They could be non-owner occupied and living in a different state. It could be non-owner occupied and they inherited the property through a family transfer. There's so many different filters and many different angles to take when it comes to that particular lead. But what we're noticing is non-owner occupied typically is one of the most sought after categories for investors looking for motivated sellers.
I love that because, as a wholesaler, it's easiest for me to not sell the home like an owner occupied property, because they're in there, they live there. It's just difficult to get people in and out to see it. So one of the things when I was even on a budget is I would download my list of all of the different properties and I would sort them by state and I would target the people furthest away, right? Because they have the least, emotional attachment. So if I'm in Tennessee, I want the people in Washington State, New York, California, Texas, I want the states the furthest away, and I sort of grab those first and then put those into a new list and see, is that the right quantity that I'm llooking for? Like if direct mail costs 50 cents a piece and I have $1,000, that means I can get 2,000 names, right? So I sort of build my list in reverse that way.
I love that. Yeah. Again, and that's the power of having that much data in front of you. You can reverse engineer strategies
Yeah.
that you might be thinking of during the day. And so I always say, if you come up with something, check out our filters. If it's there, you probably can create it.
Yeah. So I love to get absentee first and then
Mhm.
vacant, like that's the holy grail for a wholesaler is, the property's vacant, right? Because that's the biggest sign that somebody probably would want to sell it. But just to break it down, like these filters, if you go and let's say pull a list of absentee owners in Chattanooga, Tennessee, you might get 15,000 names. But now you add in vacant, poof, that could drop it to like 6,000. And then you add in what would be another one like pre-foreclosure, maybe something like that. Like that would just
Correct.
every filter you add, it just keeps shrinking your list down further, and it gets more and more concentrated. And it's not foolproof, but it's a higher likelihood that this person is in distress.
Absolutely. And that would be
Yeah.
called list stacking. And yes, you
Yep.
may do that in PropStream. We have
Mhm.
20 different lead lists to choose from.
Love
And
it.
if you want to stack 2 or 3 of them on top of each other, you
Mhm.
can. But don't forget, we also have property characteristics. So
Love
whether
it.
you're looking for commercial, vacant land, or
Mhm.
single family properties or
Yep.
duplexes, you can do that. Equity is also a very powerful filter. I don't know what you guys know. So
Yeah.
if you're do creative seller financing, you can put
Mhm.
negative numbers or low equity numbers in there. Or if you're a wholesaler, a fix and flipper, or you're an agent not wanting to tell the homeowner to bring money to the table, you can look for positive equity as well.
Yeah.
So there's, again, 20 different lead lists to start with, and over 165 plus filters, all of which can be combined in many different ways. And, I've been working for PropStream now for a little bit, for nearly 13 years. And I'm sure there's still filters out there that I'm still
Yeah.
discovering or I haven't even come across yet that could lead to a very,
Mhm.
very motivated seller. And if you find any of those guys, please share them with the
Yeah.
audience, share them with everybody. That's just one other homeowner we all can help.
So let me ask you this. Is there any investor that should not be using PropStream?
I think if you're just into real estate for all the wrong reasons, don't get me wrong, real estate is a very lucrative industry in terms of helping you get to your financial freedom that you need, helping you spend more time with your family members and whatnot. But just like in any industry, you can do something that could cause harm, not just
Yeah.
to yourself or your associates that you're working with, but to the homeowners and buyers that
Yeah.
you're dealing with as well.
Yeah.
I always have a statement: real estate is not a trial period. It's something
Mm.
that you really, really get into and
Mhm.
you stick with for the long term. Because some of these deals can take a day, but some of these deals can take 2 years. Do you have the 2 years? If not, this isn't for you. And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, another thing I like to add is I always have the saying that, growing up, listening to comic books and watching sci-fi movies, I always believed in superheroes and
Yeah.
whatnot. And the older I got, the more I realized, superheroes probably aren't real. But the reality is they are. They're just
Yeah.
within us. And I do believe this is an industry where you can unlock your superhero capabilities
Mhm.
by showing us how you can help humans out there that are in real need.
Yeah.
And so if you don't feel like you are a superhero, this probably isn't an industry for you. But if you feel
Yeah.
like you are and you just need to unlock that capability,
Mhm.
maybe we can help you with our nationwide data. Maybe there is someone out there in the US that needs your help, and our data can help you unlock those superpowers that you have. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can help you there.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I've always said is, our job as investors is to help people. That's literally the thing that we do. And, the more of those problems we can solve that people have, whether it's death and divorce and probate and bad tenant and job transfer, any of those things, the deeper discount we can get. So yeah, that is the place where we can come in and literally save the day.
Absolutely.
Also, I feel like we could have a whole podcast on Marvel and DC and what's going on.
I'm sure we can correlate like Marvel and DC
Mhm.
to real estate and definitely
Yeah.
find those connections. Who
Um,
would be the superhero that represents multifamily and stuff like
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure
love
we can
that.
come up with blogs and
Mhm.
connect them to our audience.
Dude, I watch so many of them on YouTube. So we've talked about how you can find sellers. I think that's amazing. But also, and I think we should do a whole separate 20-minute just on buyers because this is an incredible useful tool for buyers. But one thing that we always talk about in our business is we want to start with the end in mind. So even before I go searching for buyers, or I'm sorry, for sellers, even before I go searching for sellers, I like to use something like PropStream and go in and find out in my area what the buyers are actually buying. Like I want to look at recent cash sales and
Mm.
transactions, because once I figure that out, I can identify what the right zip codes are. I can, just take that list and average the square footage, average the beds and bath, average the date built and all that type of stuff. And then I can take that data and put it into my search for buyers, or for sellers. I keep saying the wrong thing, but because I want to know what buyers are looking for. So it's sort of
Yeah.
reverse engineering that process.
No, you nailed it right on the head. You said
Yeah.
it earlier. It's just a matter of reverse engineering it, and you
Mhm.
can do exactly that. Like,
Yeah.
why start in a new market and try to find a seller when you don't know a buyer?
Right.
Let the data speak to. I have
Yeah.
this thing, and there's videos I've shared. I call it follow the money,
Mhm.
where you can go into any market, use our cash buyers records, and not just find any cash buyer, but find a cash buyer with a portfolio. We have
Yeah.
this filter called numbers of properties. And so
Dude,
you can
that's
look for a cash buyer with 10, 20
yeah.
properties, go into the detail of their
Mhm.
addresses, look at their portfolio,
Yeah.
see if they like vacant or
Mhm.
commercial buildings or single family properties. And
Yes.
now you can go after exactly what they need. You know why? Because once you find that property, it's going to be easy to offload to
Mhm.
that buyer. They're
Yeah.
telling you exactly what they want. So you
Yes.
can either try to figure out yourself the hard way,
Mhm.
and again, it's going
Yeah.
to work no matter what. It might take a little bit longer,
Yeah.
or again, just let data tell you the story that's already happening in those
Yeah.
markets.
Yeah, it's literally it's the cheat code. It's having the teacher's edition to the book. It's all of
Correct.
the answers. So yeah, I love that. And I want to come back to that number of properties thing. That was a game changer for us. But guys, you could download this list, even throw it into Chat GPT and tell it to give you the avatar of who your buyer is and what your buyer is looking
Mm.
for. Like
Great
that's
way of utilizing
we
data with the new technology that's
I'm
emerging in our industry.
I'm far too deep into Chat GPT. Brian, are
Yeah,
you
I'm
are
telling
you
you, our team is too. We're ever
yeah.
using it in many different ways. So
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. But one of the things that was an absolute game changer for me is I was sitting at an event. It was Ricardo Rosales' event, and I think Vic Hareda was up on stage talking, and he just casually mentioned this thing, which was to go in and change the number of properties for a buyer. And my God, that was actually how I started tracking down hedge funds. It was amazing. But if you go into any market and you want to build a buyers list, and we'll do a separate thing here just on buyers, but a little teaser for you. You can literally just put in there anybody who owns 20 or more properties, and boom, you'll come up with the absolute best buyers in any market in the country. It's phenomenal. It's amazing.
yeah, I agree with that. And one
Yeah.
thing to add to that is buyers are also sellers. So that
Yes,
person with 20 properties not only wants to buy more, but they might
that's
want to
true.
offload more as well.
Yeah.
So what great way of finding the right
Mhm.
folks in this industry. And
Yeah.
again, there's a saying you're going to hear quite often, your net worth is your net worth, right?
Right.
So you definitely can utilize that philosophy in
Mhm.
our filtering menu. Just go find
Yeah.
buyers with multiple properties, build that
Mhm.
relationship, and now you have your solid buyer seller, right? Someone
Yeah.
who's going to probably need you every 6 months for a new property, or
Yeah.
someone who's going to need you to list their property every 6 months, whatever the
Mhm.
case is. I would say
Yeah.
start from there.
Yeah. So, guys, I know we only had 20 minutes here, and this is just going to be the first in a long series of lives that we're going to do with Burton and PropStream and his team over there, because they are absolutely amazing. They're literally the backbone of our business. I've done over 1,600 deals, and they were there for almost every
Mm.
single one of them.
Oh,
So, I cannot speak highly enough about the importance of having a good CRM or not CRM or comping service in your business. And they do so much more. And we're going to explore all of that, from, marketing and how they can help you with that, to pulling lists, to analyzing deals, and to actually helping you find cash buyers. So, Burton, I know you guys were kind enough to give us a direct link. What happens when they go to this link?
so for those that are signing up, we're going to go ahead and give you guys a 7-day trial, a discounted price. And then right now, for the time being, we are running a current promotion. Those that are listening and sign up while you're listening to this, we're going to
Mhm.
go ahead and give you a $50 in-app credit, meaning you're going to get
Mm.
$50 to use inside of PropStream for things like buying documents.
Mhm.
So if you want to know who's on the title, you can do that
Yeah.
through PropStream. We have a skip tracing platform, so you can skip trace and get phone numbers and emails. There's also a marketing platform in there. So
Mhm.
if you want to use that $50 to build a list and send postcards right
Yeah.
after, hey,
Mhm.
go ahead and do so. So
Cool.
again, for those that are listening, when you sign up, we're going to give you a discounted price.
Mhm.
And once you do officially sign up, we're going to also give you an in-app credit of $50.
Awesome. Guys, again, I cannot recommend this highly enough. I see some people post in these Facebook groups, like, can I get a realtor to give me MLS access? Guys, PropStream is the backside of most MLS services. This is what you need. It's a stupid, ridiculously low price. I've told Burton it should be worth $500 a month. And it's literally a fraction of that because you cannot do your business. You want to have $1 million a year wholesale business. You even want to do $100,000 a year. This is literally like what, 1% of that, what it would cost you for the year. You have to have this. Click the link, get the trial, go in there, play around with it. If you have questions, DM me. I'm happy to answer anything I can, but you have to have this in your business.
Such kind words of you to say. Thank you so much, David.
My man, thank you so much for popping on. Very excited this year. We've already scheduled out a bunch of these, and we're going to really, in the next couple of episodes, really dive into a particular part and dissect it so that you guys understand what you should be looking for when you log into PropStream and how to actually utilize it to its fullest. So super excited.